It started innocently enough. My friend Clara was always a bit eccentric, interested in the occult, alternate realities, and the unexplained. We'd spent countless hours discussing our theories about parallel universes and how one might slip into them. But what began as a shared fascination soon spiraled into something dark and unsettling. One evening, Clara invited me over for one of our usual brainstorming sessions. She was particularly excited about a new book she'd found, an old dusty tome titled The Veil Between Worlds. The cover was worn, with an intricate design that looked like a doorway. She said it contained rituals and meditative practices that could help someone cross over to another reality. As she flipped through the pages, her eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Can you imagine, Sam? What if we could step into a world where everything is better? No pain, no struggle, just peace." Her words sent a chill down my spine, but I couldn't help but feel drawn to her enthusiasm. That night, we decided to try one of the rituals described in the book. It involves setting up a circle of candles and chanting a particular phrase while focusing on a personal desire. Clara was determined to go deeper, convinced that the experience would be transformative. I was more hesitant, but I wanted to support her. We gathered in her dimly lit living room, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. Clara took the lead, lighting the candles one by one. As she began to chant, I felt an odd energy in the air, a thick tension that made the hair on my arm stand on end. I closed my eyes, trying to focus, but the atmosphere felt heavy, almost oppressive. Suddenly, Clara's voice changed. The rhythm of her chant became erratic, almost frantic. "Sam, I feel it. I think it's working." I opened my eyes, startled. Her face was pale, and her eyes looked unfocused, as if she were staring through me. "Clara, maybe we should stop." I started, but she cut me off. "No, just a little longer," she insisted, her voice rising in intensity. As the chanting continued, the room began to feel cold. The candles flickered wildly, and I could have sworn I saw shadows moving at the edges of my vision. Panic surged through me, and I reached out to grab her arm. In an instant, everything went black. When I regained consciousness, I was alone in Clara's living room. The candles had burned out, leaving only puddles of wax on the floor. My heart raced as I called her name, but there was no response. I rushed around the house, searching every room, but she was nowhere to be found. Feeling a rising sense of dread, I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. It rang and rang until it went to voicemail. "Clara, where are you? Please pick up," I pleaded, but the line was silent. I glanced at the clock. It was well past midnight. It didn't make sense. We had only started the ritual an hour ago, yet I felt as if an eternity had passed. Something was wrong. I returned to the living room and sat on the couch, trying to calm my racing heart. My eyes were drawn back to the open book on the coffee table. The words on the pages seemed to blur in the candlelight, but one phrase stood out. "Once the threshold is crossed, the return is uncertain." I shuddered at the implications. Had Clara crossed over? And if so, would she ever come back? I spent the entire night waiting for Clara to return, but by morning, I had to accept that she wasn't coming back. I tried calling her friends and family, but nobody had seen or heard from her. The dread that had gripped me the night before only deepened. I couldn't shake the feeling that the book held the key to understanding what had happened. That afternoon, I returned to Clara's house, determined to find answers. I flipped through the pages of The Veil Between Worlds, hoping to find a clue or an incantation that could bring her back. As I read, I found a section that described the consequences of crossing into another reality. It mentioned something about the tether, a connection that could be severed if not maintained. The more I read, the more I felt the panic rise. What if Clara's tether was gone? Would she be lost forever? I spent the next few days retracing our steps, trying to remember every detail from the night of the ritual. I even went to the local library to research more about alternate realities and the history of the occult. It was there that I stumbled upon a strange article about people who had gone missing after attempting to contact alternate dimensions. Each case seemed eerily similar to Clara's. One story caught my attention, a girl who vanished after performing a ritual in an old, abandoned church. She had been obsessed with the idea of alternate realities, much like Clara. The chilling conclusion of the article stated that some believed the missing had lost themselves to a realm beyond our own, forever trapped. The thought made my stomach churn. That night, I decided I had to try to reach Clara to see if I could pull her back. I gathered candles, the book, and all the necessary items for the ritual. I had nothing to lose. I lit the candles, set up the circle, and recited the incantation with as much conviction as I could muster. The air grew thick again, the shadows lengthening around me. I focused on Clara, imagining her face, her laughter, everything that made her my friend. I needed her to know I was searching for her. As I chanted, I felt a strange pull, like a current in the air. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper. "Sam?" My heart raced. "Clara?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Help me." The voice was soft, almost drowned by the sound of my own heartbeat. "Where are you? I'm here," I pleaded, desperation filling my words. But the voice faded, leaving only silence. I felt a rush of disappointment and fear. It was as if Clara was just out of reach, trapped in a world I couldn't see. Days turned into weeks, and Clara was still missing. I couldn't let go of the hope that she was alive, somewhere beyond our reality. I began to experience strange occurrences in my own life. Objects would move when I wasn't looking, and shadows danced in the corners of my vision. It felt as if Clara's presence lingered, haunting me with reminders of her absence. Desperate for answers, I contacted a local occult expert, an elderly woman named Ms. Hawthorne. I explained everything, from Clara's obsession with alternate realities to the night of the ritual. Ms. Hawthorne listened intently, her expression grave. "You're dealing with forces beyond our understanding, dear," she said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "The veil between worlds is thin, especially for those who seek it out. If Clara has crossed over, she may not be able to return without help." "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "There is a ritual," she said slowly, "but it requires great focus and clarity. You must strengthen your tether to her. You'll need a personal item of hers, something imbued with her essence." I nodded, my mind racing. Clara's old scarf. It was in my bag from the last time we were together. It smelled like her, comforting yet suffocating. That evening, I prepared myself for the ritual, laying out everything Miss Hawthorne had instructed. As I lit the candles, I felt a sense of purpose surge within me. I could do this. I held the scarf tightly, focusing on Clara. "I'm coming for you," I whispered, closing my eyes and entering the meditative state. Once again, I felt the pull in the air, a vibration that resonated deep within me. I chanted the words, my voice growing stronger as I reached out into the unknown. The shadows around me thickened, and for a moment, I felt a presence, like a warm breeze brushing past. "Clara!" I cried out, desperation lacing my voice. "I'm here!" In response, the room grew colder, and I felt a jolt of energy rush through me. My surroundings began to shimmer and fade, replaced by swirling darkness. I opened my eyes to find myself standing in a vast, foggy landscape. The air was thick and heavy, pressing down on me like a weight. I took a cautious step forward, the ground feeling solid yet oddly unsteady beneath my feet. As I glanced around, the fog slowly began to clear, revealing twisted trees with gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands. "Clara!" I called, my voice echoing in the eerie silence. "Where are you?" I could feel the panic rising within me, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had to find her. I wandered deeper into the fog, each step feeling more surreal than the last. The landscape shifted around me, and I felt as if I was walking in a dream, one that turned darker with every moment. As I moved forward, I caught a glimpse of something in the distance. A figure stood among the trees, shrouded in mist. My heart raced. "Clara?" I shouted, hope igniting within me. The figure turned and my breath caught in my throat. It was Clara, but something was off. Her eyes looked vacant, as if she were a mere shadow of herself. She seemed to drift rather than walk, her movements ethereal. "Sam?" she whispered, her voice echoing strangely in the stillness. "Is it really you?" "Yes, I found you." I rushed toward her, but as I reached out to touch her, she stepped back, her expression shifting to one of fear. "No, you shouldn't be here. You have to go back." "Why?" I demanded, desperation creeping into my voice. "I can't leave you." "Sam, this place, it changes you. You can't stay here. It's not safe." Her voice trembled and I could see the fear in her eyes. "What do you mean? I'll help you," I insisted, but she shook her head. "There's no way back for me now. You have to leave. Please." I felt the ground beneath me shift, the shadows deepening around us. "No, I won't leave you," I shouted, but my voice seemed to be swallowed by the fog. Suddenly, the landscape began to tremble, the trees swaying violently. I felt a sharp pull, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around us. "Sam!" Clara cried, her voice echoing with urgency. "You have to go. The longer you stay, the more it will take you." I reached for her, but the distance between us seemed to stretch impossibly far. I could feel the void pulling at me, threatening to consume everything in its path. "No!" I screamed, as the shadows surged forward, enveloping Clara. I lunged toward her, but the fog thickened, obscuring her form. "Sam, you have to find your way back." Her voice faded, replaced by the haunting whispers of the fog. With a final surge of desperation, I turned and ran, the darkness clawing at my heels. I could feel the pull of my reality, the tether I had formed with Clara. I sprinted forward, driven by the need to escape. The landscape shifted again, and I was plunged into a swirling vortex of light and darkness. I grasped onto the last fragments of my memory, her laugh, our conversations, the warmth of her presence. I focused on those moments, willing myself to return. I stumbled back into my living room, gasping for breath. The candles had burned down to stubs and the air felt lighter, as if the weight of the other world had been lifted. But Clara was still gone, and the ache in my heart intensified. The realization hit me. I had almost lost myself in that realm. I had felt Clara's presence, but I hadn't been able to pull her back. The shadows that lurked there were real, and they wanted to claim her. Desperate for answers, I returned to Miss Hawthorne. I recounted everything, my journey, my encounter with Clara, and her warnings. The old woman listened, her expression grave. "It seems she's become trapped," Miss Hawthorne said, her eyes narrowing with concern. "You must strengthen your connection to her. Find a way to anchor her spirit here." I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. I would do whatever it took to bring Clara back. That night, I began to prepare once more. I gathered everything I had, Clara's scarf, pictures, and even a letter she had written to me. I laid them all out in a circle, hoping to form a stronger tether between us. As I lit the candles, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. I needed to show Clara that I was still here, still fighting for her. I began to chant, focusing all my energy on her name. "Clara, I'm here. I won't give up," I cried into the darkness. "Come back to me." The air grew thick once again, the shadows swirling around me. I felt that familiar pull, a sensation that both terrified and exhilarated me. Suddenly, a voice broke through the haze. "Sam." "Clara," I shouted, desperation flooding my heart. "I'm here. I'm coming for you." The shadows flickered, and I felt her presence drawing closer. "Help me." Her voice was faint, almost lost in the void. I'm here, hold on, I shouted, pouring every ounce of strength into my words. The room began to tremble, and I felt the temperature drop sharply. The candles flickered violently, and I closed my eyes, reaching out with every fiber of my being. Suddenly, I was thrust back into that foggy realm, but this time, I was prepared. "Clara," I called, my voice steady. "I'm not leaving without you." The fog parted, revealing her standing in the distance, looking more solid than before. "Sam," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise and relief. I sprinted toward her, the shadows swirling ominously around us. "You have to come with me. We can find a way back." "Sam, it's too late for me," she said, her voice trembling. "No, it's not too late. We can break this," I urged, feeling the energy surge between us. As I reached for her, I felt a jolt, like a lightning strike, and the shadows closed in. "Clara, please," I shouted, the darkness clawing at me. But in that moment, I felt a connection, a tether formed by our memories, our friendship. I pulled her toward me, holding on with everything I had. The shadows howled, but we pushed through, the fog parting as we ran. I could see a glimmer of light in the distance, the familiar warmth of our reality. "Almost there," I shouted, determination flooding my veins. With one final surge of energy, we burst through the veil, the darkness falling away. We landed back in the living room, gasping for breath. Clara looked around, wide-eyed, as if waking from a dream. "Sam," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I thought I lost you." "You didn't," I said, pulling her into an embrace. "We made it back." But as we held on to each other, I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows would come for her again. The other side was still out there, lurking just beyond the veil. In the days that followed, Clara and I tried to return to normalcy, but it was clear that something had changed. She was different, more withdrawn, as if a part of her was still trapped in that other world. The laughter we once shared was replaced by a heavy silence. I encouraged her to talk about her experiences, but she struggled to articulate what had happened. It was as if the memories of her time in that foggy realm were buried under layers of fear and confusion. I wanted to help her, but I didn't know how. One evening, as we sat in her living room, I brought up the idea of seeking help. "Maybe we should talk to Miss Hawthorne again," I suggested. "She might know how to strengthen your tether." Clara looked at me, her eyes filled with sorrow. "What if it's too late for me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if the shadows come back for me?" "They won't," I assured her, but deep down I felt the doubt creeping in. "We'll figure this out together." But the following night, Clara vanished again. I woke to find her gone, the shadows swirling in the corners of the room as if they were waiting for her. Panic flooded my heart as I frantically searched the house, calling her name. "Clara, where are you?" I shouted, dread gnawing at my insides. As I searched, I felt a chill in the air, a familiar sensation that I had come to dread. I grabbed the book and flipped through its pages, desperately searching for something, anything that might help. I stumbled upon a section titled "The Shadows Within," a warning about the darkness that lurked in the alternate realities. It spoke of the dangers of returning without a strong tether and how those who did often became lost in the shadows. I sank to the floor, the weight of despair crashing over me. Clara had gone back into the darkness, and I had failed her. Determined not to lose her again, I decided to confront the shadows head-on. I prepared for another ritual, hoping to reach Clara wherever she was. This time, I gathered every item that connected us, her scarf, photographs, the book itself, and even the letters she had written. As I lit the candles, I felt a mix of fear and determination. I chanted the incantation with renewed vigor, pouring every ounce of my heart into it. I needed to find her, no matter the cost. The air grew heavy, the familiar darkness swirling around me. I felt the pull again, and the room shifted into that foggy realm once more. This time, I was ready. "Clara!" I shouted, my voice strong and unwavering. I'm coming for you." I ventured into the swirling fog, determined to find her. The landscape felt even more twisted, shadows creeping around me like predatory beasts. I pushed forward, calling her name, but the silence that greeted me was deafening. Then in the distance, I saw a figure standing among the trees. It was Clara, but she looked different. Her hair was disheveled, and her eyes were wide with fear. "Sam!" she cried, and I felt a rush of hope. But as I drew closer, I noticed something chilling in her expression. It was as if she were both there and not there, a flickering light in the depths of darkness. "Clara!" I reached for her, but she stepped back, her gaze shifting nervously. "You shouldn't have come back." "I won't leave you," I insisted. But the shadows lurked behind her, whispering promises of despair. "Sam, you don't understand," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "The shadows, they want me. They want to take you too." "I won't let them," I shouted, stepping closer. "We can fight this together." As I grasped her hand, the shadows surged forward, swirling around us like a tempest. I felt the coldness seep into my bones, the darkness threatening to consume us both. "Hold on to me," I urged, our fingers entwined. The tether I had created began to flicker, pulling us closer together. But the shadows were relentless, clawing at us, and Clara's expression shifted from fear to resignation. "It's too late for me, Sam," she said, her voice breaking. "You have to go back." "No, I won't leave you here," I shouted, the desperation clawing at my throat. In that moment, the darkness surged, and I felt the pull of the other side grow stronger. Clara's eyes widened in terror as the shadows enveloped her, pulling her away. "Sam!" she cried, but her voice faded into the void, leaving me alone to face the darkness. With a final surge of will, I pushed back against the shadows, desperately trying to reach her. "Clara, I'm here!" I screamed, but the fog thickened and I felt myself being pulled back. The room erupted in a blinding light, and I was thrown back into my living room, gasping for air. The candles had flickered out, leaving only darkness in their wake. Days passed in a haze of desperation. I searched for Clara in every corner of the town, asking everyone if they had seen her, but the answers were always the same. Nobody had. It felt like she had become a ghost, haunting the edges of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was running out of time. The shadows were still out there, waiting for an opportunity to take her. I returned to Miss Hawthorne, hoping she had answers. She listened intently as I recounted my recent experiences, the loss, and the darkness that continued to plague me. "The shadows feed on despair," she explained, her voice heavy with concern. "They will try to break your tether to sever your connection to Clara. You must be stronger than them." "What can I do?" I asked, desperation coloring my words. "The only way to fight them is through love and light. You must gather your memories of her, the happiest moments you've shared, and strengthen your bond." That night, I gathered everything I could find, old photos, mementos from our adventures, and even the letters she had written. I arranged them in a circle, hoping to create a sanctuary of light amidst the darkness. As I lit the candles, I focused on the memories that brought me joy, her laughter, our long talks, the way her eyes sparkled when she was excited. I poured all my energy into the ritual, determined to reach her once more. "Clara, I'm here," I called into the darkness, my voice echoing in the stillness. "I won't give up on you." The air crackled with energy, and the shadows swirled around me, but I stood my ground. I could feel the tether between us strengthening, a lifeline pulling me deeper into the fog. "Sam." I heard her voice, faint yet clear. "Help me." "I'm coming," I shouted, pushing through the darkness. As I entered the foggy realm once again, I felt the presence of the shadows lurking, waiting for their chance. But this time, I was armed with love and light. "Clara," I called, my voice unwavering. "Where are you?" In the distance, I saw her figure, standing among the twisted trees. "Sam!" she cried, her eyes wide with fear. But I could see the flicker of hope in them as well. "I'm here." I reached out and she took a step toward me. The shadows writhed around her, clawing at her, but I wouldn't let them take her again. "Hold on to me," I urged as the darkness surged forward. "Sam, it's too late," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You have to go." "No," I shouted, desperation flooding my voice. "We can fight this together." As I grasped her hand, the shadows enveloped us and I felt the weight of despair pressing down. But in that moment, I summoned every happy memory we shared, pouring it into our connection. "Remember the time we hiked that mountain?" I shouted, the memories flooding my mind. "The view was breathtaking and we laughed all the way down." The shadows hesitated, their grip loosening. Clara looked at me, a glimmer of recognition sparking in her eyes. "Remember our first concert?" I continued, my voice steady. "We sang at the top of our lungs and danced like nobody was watching." The darkness faltered, and I could feel Clara's strength returning. "Sam," she whispered, her eyes shining with hope. "I can feel you." "Then let's go home," I shouted, pulling her closer as the shadows swirled around us. Together we created a beacon of light, a force that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. With one final surge of energy, we broke free from the grasp of the shadows, tumbling back into the light of my living room. The candles flickered and the air felt warm again. We lay on the floor, gasping for breath. "We made it," Clara whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yeah," I said, pulling her into an embrace. "But we have to be careful. The shadows will always be lurking." In the weeks that followed, Clara and I worked to rebuild our lives. We became inseparable, sharing our experiences and learning to navigate the fragile tether between our worlds. The shadows still lingered, but together we were stronger. We reached out to Miss Hawthorne again, and she guided us through protective rituals to keep the darkness at bay. Clara began to open up about her experiences, sharing the fears and doubts that had haunted her during her time in the other realm. "I thought I wouldn't make it back," she confessed one evening, her voice trembling. "But you fought for me, Sam. You brought me back." "I would do it 1,000 times over," I replied, squeezing her hand. "We're in this together." One night, as we sat in the living room, Clara pulled out the old book, The Veil Between Worlds. "What do you think will happen if we try to explore again?" she asked, her eyes flickering with curiosity. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. "But we have to be careful. The shadows are still out there." Clara nodded, but I could see the fire in her eyes. "What if we could learn how to control it? What if we could explore together?" The idea sent a shiver down my spine, but I couldn't deny the allure of discovery. Together, we dove into the book, poring over the passages and rituals, determined to understand the mysteries that lay beyond. As we prepared for our next ritual, I felt a sense of hope and trepidation mingling within me. The shadows would always be a part of our lives, lurking at the edges of our reality, but we had each other, and together we could face whatever came next. "Ready?" Clara asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her presence beside me. "Ready?" I replied, holding her hand tightly. With that, we lit the candles and began to chant, feeling the pull of the other realm beckoning us once more. Together, we would step into the unknown, determined to face the darkness with love and light. I would introduce myself, but none of it matters if I'm not supposed to exist here. Everything started on a normal sunny day. I stood in an alleyway with a few friends of mine as we talked and smoked a cigarette. Everything was fine, just one of those same shit different day kind of days. People eventually develop habits and routines, and sometimes life becomes little more than a monorail video game. This is how I felt at the time, basically doing the same thing every day. Just like many others around me, it's just us dealing with life. I was standing there still talking to one of my buddies, and I noticed a couple of people running by. Soon after, I started to hear shouts and a lot of panicked voices. One of my friends that was facing me looked upwards and started to freak out. I wanted to know what all the fuss was about, so I turned around. What I saw was one of my greatest fears, something that many of you have probably wondered about. That simple what-if question that has made anyone who pondered it scared for their own safety before ultimately calming themselves down and telling themselves, that would never happen to me, there's too much at stake for someone to do something that stupid. I look up to see a fucking mushroom cloud in the distance. Realizing why everyone was collectively freaking out, I naturally started to do so as well. I started to run in the opposite direction, but about 3 to 4 strides in, I stopped running. I knew we only had seconds until we were all vaporized. Everything was so surreal. Not one person was prepared at all. No place to run, no place to hide, no warnings, nothing. The whole city was in a survival of the fittest state as I see literal herds of people running in every direction, mainly in the direction away from the cloud. I watched as society broke down in front of me. Parents abandoning their kids, random strangers taking those abandoned kids with probably not so good intentions, people getting trampled over hundreds of pairs of shoes including heels and boots. Bodies were literally getting crushed by the weight of all the running people to the point blood was gushing everywhere. People slipping in others' blood puddles just to join the flesh floor below. Bones crunching. People screaming for help but nobody answering. People were scattering around like bugs. I even noticed some people just praying for forgiveness while someone else was being gang raped right next to them. People literally turn into animals when everybody's life is about to be lost. I was disgusted by what I was witnessing. It was the moment I hated humanity the most. It actually made me feel like we deserved what we were about to get. I now know what my reaction would be if a nuke was randomly dropped on us. Like I said, I started to run with the rest when I stopped myself. That's when I got disgusted at what we got reduced to and then thought to myself, we're all about to die right now, so why spend my last moments trying to scuttle around for a rock to hide under when there is none? Just get it over with then, if death is inevitable. I made sure I wasn't going to get pummeled down into the ground by the desperate people then faced the mushroom cloud. I closed my eyes and heard the rumbling of the wave get closer and closer. It got stronger and stronger and then it got extremely hot all of a sudden. The sounds the bomb generated were so loud I think I went deaf. I touched my ear to feel a wet sensation, presumably blood. I stupidly opened my eyes and was instantly blinded by a white flash of energy and a surge of sharp pain from the nuke blast that went from my eyes to the back of my head. I felt my eyes melt out of their own sockets in less than a second. In another moment, I felt some of the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life, and I knew it was about to be the end. All of my skin started to feel like it was melting off of me like a candle and my body went numb. Probably because the heat burnt through all of my nerves. I felt, heard, and saw nothing. I wish I smelt nothing but my own flesh smoke wafted up into my nose, and trust me, if it was possible for me to retch, I would've. I smelt like burnt, charred up steak with zero seasonings. I never saw my life flash before my eyes, no light at the end of the tunnel, no demons dragging me down to hell, nothing. It was just me and the nuke. The next thing I knew, I shot upright in a cold sweat trying to catch my breath in bed. I couldn't believe that was just a dream. It was so realistic I could still feel the lingering wave of fear slowly diminishing the more I woke up. The more awake I was, the more of a dream it felt like. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You wake from a dream and you try to remember it, only for it to fade away back into your subconscious. Sometimes you remember fragments, sometimes you remember nothing. I put the strange dream behind me and went on with my day as I normally would. It went on eerily similar to how the beginning of my dream went. But that was kind of expected. As I said before, my life was just monotonic and repetitive, so a dream of me going through my daily routine wasn't unexpected. Eventually I found myself in the same spot as I was in my dream. The only difference was the friend I was talking to wasn't there this time. "Yo, where's Charlie?" I said to my other friend while taking a hit of my cigarette. My friend gave me a confused look. "Charlie? I don't know a Charlie." This confused me greatly because he was better friends with Charlie than I was. Alright, real funny dude, you two are practically brothers. Where's he hiding at? His look of confusion didn't falter. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about, bro. Maybe you're talking about Nick or something. What does he look like? Seriously, dude? Charlie, big guy like 6'3", redhead, never wears shorts. Never heard of him in my life. Are you hungover or something, bro? We did party a lot, but come on, man, there was never a Charlie. Before I could respond to him, I heard a gruff voice speak up from behind me. Who the fuck's talking about me? Do I know you motherfuckers? My friend backed up instantly and couldn't do much as he was against a wall. I turned around to see Charlie, a bit gruff looking and pissed off, but nevertheless it was definitely Charlie. Yo Charlie, you look fucked up, man. Didn't even take a shower after last night's beer run, huh? Tell Doofus over here to get his memory checked. He claims he's never met you before. My friend's eyes widened at my choice of words and just looked over at me, then Charlie with a panicked expression. Charlie grabbed me by the collar of my shirt. How the fuck do you know my name? You a narc? I was confused, so I tried to explain to him more. What? Nah, I'm not a fucking narc. I'm your friend. We've been hanging out since we were kids. Remember your old dog Daisy? Charlie just grew even more angry and threw me against the wall next to my other friend. Menacingly, he leaned in and said, "You and your fruitcake friend are fucking weirdos. Empty you goddamn pockets. Now." What? Charlie, please, it's me. I said empty your fucking pockets. Charlie then pulled out a .45 Glock and pistol whipped me on the side of the head. I was almost knocked out instantly from it, but I held on to my consciousness. My knees buckled slightly from the blow, but Charlie slammed me back up onto the wall before I could fall. I didn't understand what was going on at all. This was not the Charlie I knew. All of a sudden, my friend tried to make a break for it, and Charlie proceeded to pop 3 shots towards him. Bang, bang, bang. He fell down after the second shot. Charlie then walked up to my friend's body, dragging me along with him. My friend slowly rolled over, a small pool of blood forming under him and soaking into the concrete. Charlie raised the Glock to my friend's face. Still laying down, my friend attempted to beg for his life. He started crying as Charlie slowly approached. Please, I don't want to Bang, 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 bang. Blood and brain matter splattered onto my face and clothes as my friend's face was mutilated by the rounds. His face now resembled a broken smoothie machine, dripping fluids and making unnatural noises that gradually faded away as my friend died. I was in shock and couldn't move. Bang, bang. I hit the floor and cried out in pain. I looked down to see he shot both of my kneecaps. You ain't running anywhere, boy. Look what you made me do. Charlie proceeded to loot my friend's corpse, even taking his shoes and threw them in a backpack he already had on him. He walked back over to me and went to check my pockets as well when I reflexively put my arms up in defense. His response was to shoot both my arms as well. Bang, bang. I was in living hell. My arms and legs felt like someone took a syringe of lava and injected each appendage with it. Stop fighting, bitch, Charlie screamed. He then looted me as well while I looked at my friend's dead corpse. Why did you have to do this? I said, my head swimming at the fact that Charlie isn't Charlie anymore. Why couldn't you two just make this shit easy and keep my name out your mouths? You're either a narc or someone who knows too much. Charlie, come on, man, I said, starting to sound desperate. What the fuck did I just say? You really are fucked in the head, aren't you? Tisk, man. I hate weirdos like you with a passion. What the fuck were you two doing here then? Stalking me? You know I could have my way with you right now if I wanted to, and there wouldn't be jack shit you could do about it. But your nasty ass would probably like it. He looked down at me with disgust and spit on me. Yeah, I might be a piece of shit, but people like you are worse than scum like me. Please, you took our shit already, just let me live. I'm sorry for ever mentioning your name. It will never come out of my mouth again. He looked into my eyes with his dilated, soulless gaze and smirked. Damn right it's not. Bang. I shot upright in bed with a cold sweat, trying to catch my breath. This was too much. That dream felt way too real to just be a dream. I still remembered the dream where I got nuked vaguely if I thought on it. It was just like how you would remember an old dream normally, but also at the same time it was too real. I sat there in bed starting to wonder if all of the dreams I can remember in my lifetime were actually glimpses of past realities. After a long while of thinking it over, I tried to go on with my day and put the dreams in the back of my mind. This time I avoided the alleyway altogether but was still scared if another nuke situation were to happen. I walked past the alleyway, ignoring my friend and Charlie who seemed normal enough. I don't care if they think I'm weird right now, that Charlie dream was just too fresh. If it turned out to be a nightmare after all, then I'll explain my behavior later. I just need to know if it was a figment of my mind or if I really am in a twisted version of Inception. A few moments go by and everything was normal. I walked over to my usual bus stop and stood there by the bus pole. Everyone seemed normal and going on with their day. I looked up into the sky in every direction. No mushroom clouds, good sign. My anxiety started to slowly diminish as I took a deep breath of fresh air. I felt like I beat the universe. I thought to myself, yes, maybe it was just a series of bad dreams after all. Distracted by my mini celebration, I failed to notice the speeding truck coming my way. I tried to move out of the way, but there was no chance. I got hit full force straight into the truck and I felt all of my bones start to crumble as I flew into the air from the force. I smashed into a huge storefront window, glass shattering everywhere and slicing my body up. I couldn't move a muscle. All I could do was bask in the pain as onlookers gathered around. Most of them were just standing there recording me. Still in my line of vision, I could see the bastard who hit me get out of his truck as a couple of empty beer cans tumbled out the driver's side door and started to walk over. As he got closer, I noticed he didn't even have a scratch on him. Slightly stumbling, the drunken man looked over at me. "Sorry about that, kid. Should have been paying more attention." He then hiccuped and stumbled into the frame that used to hold the glass while getting back into his truck and driving off. Not one person tried to help or stop him at all. All I saw were people screaming, "Oh my goodness," or "Call 911," and the rest of them were just recording even more enthusiastically. I looked up to see a loosened piece of glass come hurtling down towards me. I could only watch as the shard went down and decapitated me. The scientists were right. Your brain does stay conscious for a small amount of time before your ultimate death. I had enough time to watch half of the crowd get mentally scarred from what they just witnessed before I woke up back in my bed with a cold sweat. I have fallen, drowned, burned, and I've committed suicide in multiple ways. I've been murdered by multiple people. I've experienced multiple natural and man-made disasters. I've seen many different wars, seen different governments, thrown into many different families, and had many so-called friends. I've even lived in every time and era of the world that has existed or should never have existed. Life means nothing to me anymore. It never ends. I don't know which reality you're from, but before the universe takes me out again, I'm going to type this up and send it out. Maybe someone can see this, and maybe someone can help me break this infinite loop of life and death. I don't know what I did to deserve this hell, or if there is anything I can do to end this torture. If I die, I live. If I live, I die just to live again. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid to live.